Hey guys, Abner Miranda here. A few days ago I released a video about things that need to be considered before you put an optic on your handgun, and wow, some of y'all really lost perspective. So I'm gonna recap this in hopes that some of y'all can gain woosah, some perspective and just really tone it down. Now, first of all, you need to understand, I don't really care if you disagree with me. What I ask is you disagree agreeably, okay? And then some of you completely got where I was going with it, and you're like, boom, thanks for the information. I appreciate it. The one thing that I was actually, you know what? I think I will cover this. Of all the different things that came out of the woodwork, one of them was a very well-known instructor who I saved from embarrassment. I'm not going to say his name out of respect for him as a human being, okay? But this dude has repeatedly shown his tail to me over and over and over, and I can only think that he somehow thinks I'm a threat to him. Because guys, if I were to actually publish the things this guy has posted, those of you who think he's awesome would be like, wow, that's kind of crazy pants embarrassing. Dude, I'm saving you from yourself, okay? I'm paying you the respect that you don't even deserve because you won't give me, but I'm going to give you the respect of removing your comments so people don't see you shaming yourself. Chill out. Everyone listen. I had an RMR on a handgun long before it was considered cool to have an RMR on a handgun. Long before a bunch of y'all that just got into this sport and put your little RMR on your handgun, I already had an RMR on a handgun, and I realized that I had a potential problem, and I was already running optics on rifles and realizing I had potential problems. I was going to classes in the dead of winter and optics zeros were shifting. Optics were going out, lights were going out, like flat out dying from the cold. That was giving me these wake-up calls. Wait a minute, if I'm putting these machines, because that's really what they are, an optic is a machine. If I'm putting an optical machine on a weapon that is meant to save my life, then I am basically saying I'm depending on this weapon to not fail me when I most desperately need it. Actually, and I'll just, that'll lead me to something. A viewer of mine ran a test on his own, realized that I was actually speaking truth, imagine that. But then I responded to him and I said, look, the one guy jumped on there and he said to me, he was like, well, yeah, but the anti-fog coatings, and he named off several manufacturers, these anti-fogging coatings work. And I go, yeah, they work, but they have to be applied, and then they have to be reapplied. Most especially if you're actually carrying your handgun. If you're actually truly, for real, living with your handgun the way you claim you are, you're going to realize those coatings wear off very quickly. And also, coatings tend to attract crap onto the lens. Okay, I'm heading down another rabbit trail. No, it's not that simple. To say that anti-fogging coatings work is a right here, right now solution. However, the very people who have been pushing those solutions also add that you have to keep up with those coatings, which a lot of you have said the same. You guys, a lot of you have brought up the same exact coatings by name and have said, but you gotta apply them from time to time. I'll get to that. If the pistol, where am I? If the pistol is worn regularly, the lens coating has to be periodically reapplied. It's just like keeping track of your battery consumption on the optic. If one forgets, it will invariably find you when you most need the optic to work. There lies the rub. If you add a device to a weapon that makes it easier to shoot, that's good. If that device consumes batteries and also needs to have anti-fog coatings to combat thermal issues, that's a potential problem waiting to happen. It's the case of saying that one wants to have the perfect gun. However, there's no such thing. Remember, this video isn't me saying you're a fool if you run an optic on your pistol. This is me saying, here are some things to think about before you commit to running an optic on a pistol. A pistol, being a true last-ditch effort weapon of self-defense, should be kept as simple as possible. I'm going to read that again. A pistol, being a true last-ditch effort weapon of self-defense, should be kept as simple as possible. Anyone who's had CQC combatives training will tell you, and I've had a fair amount of it, will tell you that it's not a gunfight. It's not a gunfight, it's a gun fight. I got that from Rich Nance. I also got some of that from Dave Spalding because he teaches a lot of combatives, a lot of very close-up shooting, and you come to realize it's not a gunfight, it's a gunfight. I mean, I don't want to lose focus. You will most likely be hands-on first before you go to guns. See, I had already written it down and I forgot that. If you can go to guns. So I'm gonna read that again. Anyone who's had CQC combatives training will tell you that it's not a gunfight, it's a gun fight. You will most likely be hands-on before you go to guns, if you can go to guns. In that situation, one should consider how much they want to rely on remember their lens and battery maintenance regimen. Remember, you're talking to a guy who's had an RMR on a Glock since before it was considered cool to do so. I know of what I speak. Okay, so I appreciate when people disagree with me in an intelligent manner. If you disagree with me intelligently, man, we will talk all day long because that's how I learn. That's how all humans learn. If someone says, hey man, have you considered this? I go, no, I haven't. Or I say, yes, I have, but have you considered this in relation to what you're telling me to consider? And if we're actually having a dialogue, reasoning with one another, then we're both learning from one another. What social media does, it allows you guys to act like Vikings, pound your chest and look my buzz. And you guys are acting like morons and you're getting erased and you're getting blocked. Because guess what? I erase you and I block you. I want nothing to do with people who act like idiots. If you want to disagree with me, then disagree with me agreeably. And I will talk with you till the cows come home, guys. I love this stuff. I love sharing my knowledge with people. But all I'm saying to you, and I'm going to say this one last time and then I'm going to close this video. All I'm saying to you is, if you're going to consider running an optic on your handgun, you need to consider those things that go with it. You need to consider, first of all, the things that take optics out. Hot and cold will take out an optic. Rain will take out an optic. If a drops on an emitter, it takes out the optic. Okay, well how about the aim point acro? Yeah, boom. The aim point acro is essentially a miniaturized micro T1. All right, cool. Then that has no rain issues, but it does have thermal issues. If you get one of those things cold enough, it'll actually begin to condense. Then you can't see through it. Okay, well, the anti-fogging coatings. All right, cool. Anti-fogging coatings get on there. Anti-fogging coatings rub off eventually. And then there's the issue of, and I actually found this out last March at a rifle class, brought my rifle up in the cold on the ground, and as soon as I exhaled across the rifle, because remember, you're laying on the ground. And as soon as you exhale across the ground and your warm breath rolls across that ground, it causes a fogging effect across that gun. And sure, it cleared within just a couple of seconds, but a couple of seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, that's a lifetime in a gunfight. When you're trying to track somebody that's moving on you, he's trying to get shots on you. Which is why I stick to just sights on my gun and no optics. What happened in the industry a few years ago was optics went from being a thing that we saw in the like the 3-gun environment where we had tricked out guns with optics on them, and then they started going more mainstream. And of course, the evolution of that was clearly the RMR, because when you would see optics on guns, they were really big. Seymour, I think, was one of them. They were rather large, but those were racing guns where you had a gantry system that held the optic above the gun and the slide reciprocated underneath, similar to the thing that ALG Defense was making, which I can't remember what it's called right now, but really nice piece. So anyways, these things kind of went mainstream, and then RMRs, specifically RMRs, started showing up on handguns left and right, and I got one too. And I was like, this is cool. And then I started noticing issues. I started noticing zeroing issues. And then the Type 2s came out. That fixed the problem. The handgun for the private citizen is not a tertiary weapon. Handguns are tertiary weapons. You have rifle, shotgun, handgun, primary, secondary, tertiary. To the private citizen, this is the sole weapon. So this is primary and this is only. Like Dave Spalding says, you will begin and end the fight with whatever you have on your person. If it happens to be a gun, yeah, you showed up prepared. If it happens to be your fist, God be with you. If it happens to be a knife, you're actually sitting pretty, because blades are really, really effective at ending fights. Far more effective than guns are. But blades, unfortunately, require me to get really close to you to stop you, whereas I can stop you with a handgun from a fair distance away, and I can push you with hits. This is your only weapon. Why complicate this weapon? People will say to you, well, yeah, but zero shift issues aren't that big a deal on a weapon that's meant to be used in such a close environment. You're right. So then why do you feel that you need to have an optic on top? Well, because you can potentially miss a shot up close. You're right, you can. But if you're talking about a shot that is far enough away from the threat that you do need to have an optic, then why in the world would I depend on an optic that could potentially shift in the cold? Guys, this is a vicious causality loop that just keeps coming right back around and biting at you and biting at you and biting at you, which is why I'm telling you, as a man who's got access to everything, as a man on the inside of the industry, you need to be asking yourself the question, if I am choosing not to run an optic on my handgun, you need to intelligently ask yourself, why is Abner not choosing to run an optic on a handgun? And man, I really hope across 2 videos I have made that argument loud and clear. I choose not to run an optic on a handgun because I do not want to rely on the maintenance issues, potential failure problems, and zero shift and thermal and blah, 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 blah that happen when you add one more complicated device to a handgun. Have you noticed there's no weapon light on this gun anymore? Because I got sick and tired of failures. Failure after failure after failure, because when you run in an environment where you're catching your gun on things, you're coming out of vehicles, you're rolling in the gravel, paddles come off guns, switches come off guns, lights come off guns. I'm sorry, I meant to say lights. Paddles come off lights, switches come off lights, screws come loose, lights begin to wobble, things fail, and I got fed up with it. And I went straight to a Glock 19 Gen 3 modified by myself, and it renders a gun that is so robust that I no longer have to think about this gun. This gun can sit for stasis. It can sit in stasis for months at a time, and I don't have to think about it. And I've intentionally taken duty ammo that I took out of commission and have intentionally abused out of the sheer curiosity, would it go bad from being carried on my person? Guys, it didn't go bad. Every single one of those rounds that was really badly abused, a lot of humidity stuff was thrown at it. Every single round fired true downrange. Every single round hit exactly where I was aiming. I got to the point where I realized if all I've got to begin and end that fight with is this weapon, then I don't want to complicate it any more than I have to. That's what I got for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, which I know you do, leave them below. And all I'm going to ask of you is this. Feel free to disagree. Disagree agreeably, or you're gone. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out and practice. Have a good one.